Welcome back to another GeekaWhat video, and one of the world's biggest game franchises is back, and this time for the 2017 edition. That's right, FIFA 17 is here. So what does that mean? Well, let's build a gaming PC for it, and try and stick within the confines of a mini ITX system, which is small enough to fit under your TV in your lounge, or any small space in your gaming room or your bedroom. So let's kick it off with why I chose the parts. Now this is part 1 of 3 where I'm going to talk over the different components I chose and why I chose them. Part 2 will be a tutorial of how to build this PC, or kind of any PC for that matter, and part 3 will be with the performance overview, where I'll go over how it performs not only in FIFA 17 for PC, but also a whole host of games that you would have no doubt heard of. So let's kick it off with the CPU. The CPU is often referred to as the brain of the computer. This is a very stereotypical kind of analogy, and it isn't the best in the world, but it kind of puts it into simple terms. The CPU I went for was AMD's Athlon X4 860K. It comes in at a nice fast clock speed, great for single-threaded games such as CSGO, some of the slightly older titles that don't utilise those 4 cores, but that quad-core core count is really important for the likes of GTA 5, The Witcher 3, and FIFA 17, all of which are the latest AAA titles and use more than one thread, i.e. all 4 cores. It's one of the best price to performance CPUs on the market, and because it uses DDR3 RAM as opposed to the slightly newer DDR4, a lot of the things surrounding it are actually quite a bit cheaper. Now, to cool this CPU in this case that I've chosen, I'll get onto that in a moment's time, you want something low profile, but also want a good performance. And to get the best performance out of our CPU, to stop it from thermal throttling, which is where if your CPU gets too hot, it will actually reduce down in speed in order to output less heat. Now, the CPU cooler I chose was Cooler Master's new Sidon V3 Plus. It's a 120mm all-in-one liquid cooler, which means it comes pre-filled with essentially water, which cools your CPU and attaches to a radiator. It's super easy to install. You don't have to add water to anything. It's simply just a screw in, and that's all there is to it. If you head up to the cards section, which you can see here on your screen now, I recently put a review up of this cooler just a few days ago. For the motherboard, you want something with an FM2 Plus socket in order to house our FM2 Plus CPU. We also want something with good RAM support, as well as good graphics card and hard drive support. The motherboard I went for was GeekaByte's A88X. It's a mini ITX motherboard. It comes with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connectivity, meaning no matter where you are, you're going to be getting some strong Wi-Fi signal, and you don't need to use wired Ethernet internet connection, although you can if you so desire. It's a really nice motherboard in a really small form factor. It comes in at a great price, has all the performance that we need, has all the features that we need, plenty of room for if you wanted to add more storage as well later on down the line for more games and that kind of thing. And GeekaByte were nice enough to send this over, as well Cooler Master with their Sidon cooler for this review and this PC build. In terms of RAM, you can go for anything that's of 8GB capacity. 8GB is all you need. It's kind of the sweet spot for gaming. It's one of FIFA 17's recommended specifications, is 8GB of RAM, so it's got us covered there. And I've gone for this Crucial kit that I was sent a little while back from Crucial. It's a really solid RAM kit, but as I said, anything that's 8GB, DDR3, 1600MHz and above will do the job absolutely perfectly. One thing I would say is the extra speed in RAM won't always give you that much more performance, and often the price to performance kind of isn't significant. There often isn't much point in spending another £10 on RAM, or $10 on RAM shall I say, depending on which region you're in order to get a bit of a higher speed, because that's not going to reflect accurately in the performance. Try and stick to DDR3 1600 or get a good deal on some faster stuff clocked above that. In terms of storage, 500GB in the next-gen consoles such as the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One is simply not enough. They have come out with 1TB models, and 1TB to me is the sweet spot in terms of capacity. And that's why I went for a Western Digital Caviar Blue 1TB drive. You can also go for the Seagate Barracuda 1TB drive, and I forgot to mention that all links for both Amazon UK and US to all the products I've mentioned will be in the description below if you would like to check those out, and further information on those can of course be found there. In terms of graphics cards, the GPU industry at the minute is very, very interesting. Nvidia just came out with their brand new 10 series of GPUs, and AMD just came out with their RX or R10, which is what the X stands for, series of GPUs, their RX 460, 470 and 480. Unfortunately, Nvidia haven't got anything that kind of fits in the price confines of this build, and AMD stuff has been really, really good lately. From value to performance, you can see my review of the Asus RX 470 in the top right hand corner of your screen now, and that's a GPU I'm going to be using for this build. You don't want to have the CPU we've gone for and then go and spend £500 on a graphics card, because the CPU will ultimately be a bottleneck. You want a nice balance, and this RX 470 and Athlon X 4860K, in my opinion, are the perfect balance. It's a really nice card, has a 4GB frame buffer, allowing for some really great performance at 1080p. GTA 5, for example, will use up quite a lot of video memory, so 4GB is perfect. Anything more than that is simply unnecessary, won't get used, and will push the price of the card up, especially at these kind of settings. We're going to be looking at good performance across the board, whether it be the latest AAA titles or even some ridiculously high frame rates on the likes of CSGO, World of Warcraft, League of Legends, Minecraft, Dota 2, those kind of games. The Strix cooler on this card is also really nice. We've got an Aura RGB LED, so you can colour match this if you wish. We've also got silent fan mode, which turns the fans off when the GPU is not under a significant load, keeping this system super duper quiet. All around a lovely card, and I think the design fits in perfectly with the build. Moving on to case, Cooler Masters Elite 130 was my first call. I could have emailed a range of case manufacturers to see if they wanted to get involved with this project, but the first people I went to were Cooler Master and asked them if they could send an Elite 130, because in my opinion it is the best mini ITX case. There are bigger mini ITX cases, the BitPhoenix Prodigy being a prime example, and there are smaller mini ITX cases such as Fractal Design's Node 202. However, this case provides a good kind of balance between the two sizes, giving you all the functionality you could want. We've got support for mini ITX motherboards, support for up to 3 drives, that's 3 hard drives. We've got optical drives, so if you did want a CD drive in here, which I wouldn't really advise, you can do that, it does give you the option. It's also got okay cable management, it's got good airflow with cool air coming in from the front, going through our radiator, which is cooling the liquid of our CPU, and then cooling the motherboard and going out the back. We've also got the power supply, which is located on the top of the unit, which is going to draw cool air out through the power supply and exhaust that hot air out of the case. It looks good, it's got a good I/O, i.e. USB 3, USB 2, headphone, microphone, power and reset, meaning you're not going to have to dig around the back of your computer when you want to plug something in. It's just an overall really, really great case option. To top it all off, a power supply. Now the power supply I went for was Corsair's CX430M. Why did I go for this power supply? A, because it's cheap, B, because it comes from Corsair, who are a reputable manufacturer, and C, because I already had it. When it comes to power supplies, providing it's cheap and it's reputable, it has an 80+ certification that's going to really ensure the safety of the unit. It really will do. I'll also leave links to an EVJ 430 watt unit, which is slightly cheaper, in the description below, as I said, for Amazon US and UK. But overall this unit's great. It's semi-modular, meaning you only plug in excess cables that you need. So the motherboard and CPU power cables come pre-installed, and then if you want extra SATA harnesses for your hard drives, if you want extra bits and bobs for your graphics cards, Molex cables, that kind of thing, all the cables come in the box. You just don't have to plug them all in, ultimately helping in a small form factor system, giving you less cables to cable manage. But that wraps it up for this part. If you would like to see part 2, if you're watching this video on launch, it will be up in like 2 days, like 48 hours, but if you are watching this video after it has been released, then you can check the cards section in the top right hand corner of your screen now to click on part 2. I'd highly advise you go and watch part 2, and then I'll also have part 3 out as well within a week of this video being uploaded. But if you did enjoy this video, you know what to do. Make sure to drop a like rating, and as always, to subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Check out my reviews of anything from products that I've mentioned, and a huge thank you to Asus, GeekaWhat, Cooler Master, and also Crucial for sending out components for this build. All of the components were bought by myself, but without companies such as these, videos like this simply would not be possible. But as always, we'll see you in the next GeekaWhat video.